On the day I signed my divorce papers, I didn't expect anything magical to happen. Honestly, I thought I'd just cry a little, eat a tub of ice cream, and start figuring out how to live alone again. But something changed that day. Something in me. As I stepped out of the courthouse, clutching that stack of papers that officially ended my 3-year marriage, a sharp pain shot through my head. It wasn't just grief. It felt like lightning inside my brain. And then, suddenly, I could hear things. Not out loud, but in my head. Thoughts. Other people's thoughts. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Who wouldn't? I was standing on the sidewalk in downtown traffic, and suddenly I could hear what a stranger walking past was thinking. I hope the boss doesn't find out I took that shortcut with the report. I froze. Then another. Do I look okay? I knew I should have worn the other shirt. I turned toward the man thinking that. He blushed when I looked at him. I wasn't imagining it. I could hear thoughts. Actual thoughts. I rushed home, locking the door behind me, like it would somehow keep the noise out. My phone buzzed. It was him, my now ex-husband, Ethan. Just seeing his name made my stomach twist. We hadn't loved each other in a long time. Or, at least, that's what I thought. Cold, calculated, always busy. Ethan was the kind of man who scheduled phone calls with his own wife. He used to say things like, "This marriage isn't a fairy tale, it's a partnership." Well, he was right, and I was done being the silent partner. I ignored his call. I needed time to process everything, but curiosity got the best of me. I pressed my palm to my forehead, trying to calm the buzzing thoughts in my brain, and whispered, "Okay, if this is real, then what was Ethan thinking when he called?" And just like that, his thoughts came flooding in. She probably won't answer. She hates me now. I deserve that. But she has no idea what I'm about to offer her. Wait, what? $1 million. If that's what it takes to get her back, I can't go another week without her. I dropped the phone. $1 million. This was the same man who once told me spending money on flowers was unnecessary. The same man who forgot my birthday twice. The same man who told me, to my face, that love was just a word people used when they didn't understand responsibility. Now he wanted me back. My heart didn't know what to do. But my head, my very loud, very telepathic head, was full of noise and questions. Why now? I hadn't changed in a week. I hadn't suddenly become richer or prettier or more successful. The only thing that had changed was that I finally left. And apparently, I gained the ability to read minds. Was that what made me powerful? I stared at my reflection in the mirror. Same face, same tired eyes, same me. But maybe I was finally hearing the truth that had been hidden behind people's words all along. The next day, I decided to test it. I went to a coffee shop near Ethan's office, sat down with my drink and waited, and sure enough, he walked in, just like I knew he would. He didn't see me at first. He was deep in thought. I didn't even have to focus too hard to hear him. What if she says no? I screwed it all up. She doesn't trust me, but I need her. I never needed anyone before. He stood in line, fingers twitching, jaw tight. It was the first time I'd ever seen him look nervous. Then his eyes landed on me. Our eyes locked for just a second, and something flickered in him. Surprise? Regret? Hope? I gave him a small nod, and he walked over. "Hey," he said, his voice unusually soft. "Can we talk?" I nodded, motioning to the seat across from me. He sat, and for a second, neither of us said anything. I didn't need him to speak. His thoughts were louder than his words. "Tell her the truth. Don't mess this up. Just be honest for once." That surprised me, because Ethan didn't do honest. Not with emotions anyway. But he looked me in the eye and said, "I made a mistake." I raised an eyebrow. "Which one?" He let out a breath. "Letting you go." Inside his mind, the guilt was deafening. I pushed her away. I thought I was protecting myself. I thought distance meant control. But she made everything brighter. And now, it's just cold. A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to ignore it. I wanted to stay angry. But knowing what he truly felt, it made it harder. "I know I was cold," he continued. "And I don't blame you for leaving, but I want to try again. Not because I'm lonely. Not because it's convenient. Because I finally see what I couldn't before." I stayed quiet. His next thought hit me like a truck. If I tell her about the offer, she'll think I'm trying to buy her. But it's not that. I just want her to feel how serious I am. $1 million to come back. As CEO of her own division. Equal partner. She deserves it. Wait, CEO, division, what was he talking about? Before I could ask, he pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. "I want you to have this," he said. "And I want you to know, I'm not asking you to come back as my wife. I'm asking you to come back as my equal." My hand hovered over the envelope. His mind whispered one last thing. "Please say yes. I still love you." I looked at the envelope, then at him, and for the first time, I didn't need to guess if he was lying. Because now I could hear the truth. But what I didn't know yet was that Ethan wasn't the only one hiding secrets. And some of them, they weren't so easy to read. I stared at the envelope for what felt like forever. My fingers trembled slightly as I touched it. Not because of the money, but because this wasn't just some job offer. It was an apology, a power shift, maybe even a trap. I had loved Ethan once, madly, stupidly, but over time, love had turned into silence. Dinners eaten in different rooms, long pauses between short conversations. He had built walls I couldn't climb, and when I stopped trying, he didn't notice. Or maybe he did and didn't care, until I left. Now here he was, offering me a job, a title, and a number so big, it didn't even feel real. $1 million. CEO of a new division at his firm. And just like that, I wasn't sure what I was more afraid of. Saying no, or saying yes. I opened the envelope. Inside, the offer was exactly what I'd heard in his thoughts. Official, detailed, serious. But something didn't sit right, because no matter how clear his thoughts had been, there was a strange static underneath, like someone was whispering behind the words. Not just guilt or desperation, something deeper, a fear, not of losing me, but of something else entirely. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every voice I passed by on the street, every stranger in the building, their thoughts clung to me like fog, and the more I tried to quiet my mind, the louder the world became, until I heard one thought that stopped me cold. She's back. This is going to ruin everything. It wasn't Ethan. It was coming from someone in his company. I didn't see who it was, but the panic in that thought made something click. This offer wasn't just about love or regret. Someone was scared I was coming back. The next morning, I accepted the job. I walked into Ethan's office building wearing the same confidence I used to fake during our charity dinners. But this time, it wasn't fake. I wasn't the silent wife anymore. I was here for answers. Ethan met me in the lobby, smiling with a strange mix of relief and worry. "You really came," he said quietly. I smiled back. "Let's see what your $1 million is really buying." He gave me a quick tour of the office. Well, what would be my office? A full floor, a team waiting to be built, my name already, printed on the glass wall, but the whispers in the building weren't as welcoming. Why would he bring her back? She'll find out everything. If she starts digging, we're all done. I kept my expression calm, but inside, my nerves were burning. What was going on here? Later that day, I met Claire, the company's head of finance. She was sharp, polite, but her thoughts were a mess. She can't know about the offshore account. Keep her away from the yearly audits. Offshore account, audits. I started paying more attention, not just to people, but to the patterns. Who avoided me? Who smiled too hard? Who kept thinking about things they never said? And slowly, a picture began to form. Ethan hadn't just brought me back because he missed me. Something was falling apart behind the scenes. Someone had been covering things up, hiding financial movements, changing numbers in reports. And Ethan either just found out or he had been part of it all along. I didn't want to believe it, but the deeper I listened, the more twisted it got. There were whispers of embezzlement, of names being erased from files, even fake client deals. And in the middle of it all, my name was coming up. If she finds out her name's still tied to that shell company, it's over. Shell company? My name? I confronted Ethan that evening, when the building had emptied out and the air was thick with tension. You said you wanted me back as an equal, I said, watching his face carefully. Then tell me what you're not saying. Why now? What are you really afraid of? He hesitated. His thoughts swirled. Fast, panicked, layered. I couldn't even separate them. But the one thing I caught clearly was this. I thought I could fix it before she knew. My breath caught. Fix what, Ethan? He looked away, jaw tight. There was a project, a merger. I signed off on something I shouldn't have. I didn't realize how deep it went until your name came up. They used your name to clean the money. I felt cold all over. You let them use me. I didn't know until it was too late, he said quickly. I tried to protect you. That's why I offered the job. I needed you close, so I could fix this before anyone else finds out. I still love you, yes, but I also need your help. Help, that. Words sat heavy in the air. He hadn't just brought me back to make things right between us. He brought me back because he was in trouble, and whether he admitted it or not, he believed I was his only way out. The worst part, he might be right, because now I could hear every lie, every threat, every secret thought of every person around us, and they were all scared of the same thing, me. And if I didn't play this right, I wouldn't just be dragged into Ethan's mess. I'd go down with him. But I wasn't that silent wife anymore. I was going to find the truth and make everyone who used me regret it. What I didn't expect was who would betray me next. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window in my apartment, watching the city lights flicker, while thoughts crowded my mind like a storm. Ethan's confession had shifted. Everything. The man who once iced me out emotionally was now tangled in something dangerous, and I was somehow at the center of it all. But what haunted me more than Ethan's mistake was the voice I heard before, the one that said, "She's back. This will ruin everything." That hadn't come from Ethan. That voice was colder, more calculating. Someone else in the company had more to lose if I uncovered the truth. The next morning, I went in earlier than usual. The building was quiet, the elevator humming with soft music. As I rose to the top floor, I knew something big was hiding in those files. Claire and the others had tried to keep me away from. I had access now, and I had a plan. Using Ethan's old login, he never changed his passwords. I dug deep into the archived financials. It didn't take long. Hidden among the folders was a series of fake vendors, paid out through a shell company, the same one under my name, payments labeled as consulting, had been rerouted into overseas accounts. It looked clean on the surface, but I could hear Claire's panicked voice in my memory. She can't know. What stunned me wasn't just that they used my name. It was who approved it all. Not Ethan. Claire. And the final signatures. Ethan's assistant, Jared. The realization hit me hard. Ethan wasn't the mastermind. He was just another pawn. Used, manipulated, and now cornered. Claire and Jared had set the whole thing up, while Ethan was too distracted, trying to patch our failing marriage to notice. I called Ethan. Meet me in the boardroom. Now, when he arrived, I didn't wait. I laid out the printed records, the email threads, the false documents, his face drained of color with every page. Claire and Jared, I said, voice steady. They ran the whole operation. You were the cover. Ethan sat down slowly, rubbing his temples. I thought I had everything under control, he muttered. But they were playing me, and they almost got away with it. I said, until you brought me back. That same morning, I requested a full audit through legal, quietly with a lawyer I trusted outside the company. Within hours, investigators were in the building. Claire tried to act innocent, but her thoughts were screaming louder than ever. She tricked me. I should have finished this before she came back. Jared panicked and tried to delete files. Too late. By the end of the day, both were escorted out by authorities. Ethan stood by silently, shaken but strangely relieved. He looked at me after they were gone and said, I should have listened to you years ago. I didn't respond. There wasn't much to say. We were too far gone to rewind. But I knew now. I didn't need to go back to the past to move forward. The board offered me the CEO position permanently. Full control. The $1 million contract was now backed with more than just guilt. It came with respect, but I turned it down. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life cleaning up Ethan's mess or fixing a company built on lies. I had something better. Now, my clarity, my voice, and a strange, unexpected gift that showed me what people hide. I decided to start my own consultancy, one that helped women navigate corporate chaos, one that used truth, not power, to lead. Ethan understood, or maybe he didn't, but he didn't try to stop me. Before I left the building for good, he stood in the lobby beside me. I know I can't change the past, he said quietly, but if I could go back, I'd choose you differently. I looked at him for a long moment, then smiled, just a little. Maybe you still can, just not with me. As I walked out, the city felt different, lighter. For once, I wasn't lost in someone else's story. I was writing my own. And if there's one thing I've learned since gaining this strange power, people's thoughts can lie, but their actions never do. The truth is always there. You just have to be willing to hear it. And now I finally was. The end.